Crash! The sound of shattering porcelain echoed through the Sunset Cafe as Elise stumbled backward, her coffee cup exploding across the floor. But it wasn't the broken china that made every customer freeze. It was the song suddenly playing on the cafe speakers, the song that existed only on her father's old MP3 player, the one she'd lost 3 weeks ago. Across the counter, the barista's eyes widened. "You're the one," he whispered, holding up a familiar silver device. "You're the one who left this on the bus." But wait, to understand why this moment changed not just 2 lives but an entire community across generations, you need to hear what happened 3 weeks earlier. If this story touches your heart like it touched mine, please take a moment to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue sharing these incredible true stories of hope and healing. Because what you're about to hear proves that sometimes our parents' gifts keep saving us long after they're gone. 3 weeks earlier, Elise Matthews clutched her late father's MP3 player as she rushed onto the Route 12 bus. The device, ancient by today's standards, had been his last gift before cancer took him. "Music heals, sweetheart," he'd said, loading it with songs from his youth mixed with modern tracks. "When words fail, let the melody speak." Now, at 26, that battered device was her lifeline through crippling anxiety. Each playlist was a conversation with her father. Dad's songs for tough days, music to remember who you are, breathe, baby girl, breathe. But in her morning rush, the player slipped from her coat pocket onto the cracked vinyl seat. As the bus pulled away, she had no idea she'd just lost her last tangible connection to her father, or that it would land in the hands of someone who understood exactly what that loss meant. 23 stops away, 29-year-old Liam. Chen was unlocking the Sunset Cafe, the coffee shop his mother had opened 30 years ago. He moved through the morning routine like a ghost, having buried his musical dreams alongside her 5 years ago. He didn't know that in 3 hours, he'd find something that would resurrect not just his gift, but the very spirit of his mother's legacy. The morning Elise lost her father's MP3 player started like every other since his death, with the familiar weight of grief mixed with anxiety pressing against her chest. At 26, she was supposed to be thriving as a senior editor at Coastal Publishing. Instead, she was barely surviving, medicating her panic attacks and fighting to meet deadlines while drowning in sorrow. Her older brother Connor, now 38, had handled their father's death differently. He'd thrown himself into managing his surf shop, adopting their dad's philosophy of steady work, steady life. But Elise had inherited their mother's sensitive soul, the same one that had led to their mum's breakdown when they were children. "You're..." Just like her, Connor had said recently, not unkindly but with worry. Dad used to say Mom felt everything too deeply. That's why he gave her that old Walkman, then that MP3 player. Said music was her anchor. Now that anchor was gone. On the bus, Elise reached for the player, her morning ritual before facing another day of editing other people's dreams, while her own crumbled. Empty pocket. The panic hit immediately. Without Dad's carefully curated playlists, how would she make it through the day? She called the bus company with trembling hands. "It's just an old MP3 player," she told the operator, unable to explain that it contained her father's last words to her, coded in song choices. Frank Sinatra's My Way, his funeral request, the Beatles' Here Comes the Sun, what he hummed during chemo. Carole King's You've Got a Friend, their father-daughter dance song that now felt like a promise from beyond. Across town, Liam swept the sidewalk outside the Sunset Cafe, a routine unchanged since childhood, when he'd helped his mother, Mei Lin, prepare for the morning rush. She'd immigrated from Taiwan in 1980, opening this cafe as her American dream. Every morning she'd play her vinyl records while baking, everything from Teresa Teng to Johnny Cash, teaching young Liam that music was a universal language. "Music bridges all souls, Baobei," she'd say in her mix of Mandarin and English. "Old, young, east-west, we all hear the same heart beating in a beautiful song." 5 years ago, as cancer stole her voice, Liam had played guitar by her hospital bed. Folk songs she'd taught him, pop songs from his teens, classical pieces she'd loved. When she died, he'd packed away his guitar, along with his dreams of becoming a professional musician. Now at 29, he was a ghost in his own life, keeping the cafe running out of duty rather than passion. The morning brought unwelcome news. Mrs. Harper, the 70-year-old building owner, arrived with termination papers. "I'm sorry, Liam," she said, her voice heavy, "but Charles needs experimental treatment. The developers offer. It's enough to maybe save him." Liam understood. Mrs. Harper and her husband had been his mother's first customers, their loyalty spanning 3 decades. Charles Harper had played saxophone here every Friday night in the 90s, filling the cafe with jazz that made his mother smile. "Mom always said this place would outlive us all," Liam murmured. Mrs. Harper's eyes glistened. Mei Lin was special, but sometimes we have to let go of the past to save the present. So after she left, Liam found himself in the back room staring at his mother's collection. Vinyl records, cassette tapes, even a few 8-tracks. She'd been a curator of memories, believing each format held its own magic. That's when he noticed something wedged between seat cushions in the corner booth, a silver MP3 player. His first instinct was to put it in lost and found, but something about its worn edges, the faded sunflower sticker on the back, the careful way someone had wrapped earbuds around it, made him pause. This wasn't just forgotten, it was lost. There was a difference his mother had taught him to recognize. During his break, curiosity won. He plugged in his earbuds and pressed play. The first song stopped his heart, Concerning Hobbits from Lord of the Rings, the same melody his mother hummed while kneading dough. Next, Sinatra's My Way, then The Night We Met by Lord Huron. This wasn't random shuffling. These were carefully ordered playlists with names like Dad's Wisdom for the Anxiety Storms, Mom's Lullabies, 3 a.m. Darkness, Songs to Find Yourself. As he listened, Liam felt like an archaeologist discovering someone's soul through their musical DNA. The playlists revealed a story, a young woman dealing with loss, anxiety, and the weight of inherited pain, but also hope, resilience, and deep family love. Many songs were decades old, Simon and Garfunkel, Carpenters, Eagles, mixed with contemporary artists. Someone's parent had gifted not just music, but a roadmap through grief. What struck him most was how similar this was to his own story. After his mother's death, he'd created similar playlists. Mum's Kitchen Soundtrack, Hospital Vigil Songs, Grief at 3 a.m., Music as Medicine, Rhythm as Respiration. That night, instead of closing immediately, Liam did something he hadn't done in 5 years. He retrieved his guitar from storage and began to play. The dust made him sneeze, the strings were oxidized, but muscle memory persisted. As he played along with the stranger's playlists, something awakened inside him. A melody emerged, not from the MP3 player, but from somewhere deep within. It was a response to the pain he'd heard, a musical conversation across the void. He worked until dawn, crafting lyrics that spoke to loss and inheritance. In the static between stations, where our parents' voices fade, there's a frequency of healing in the songs that they once played. By sunrise, he'd added the track to the MP3 player and created a note. Your father's gift found its way to someone who needed to hear it. I hope my response brings you comfort. Track 97, you're not alone. 3 days later, Elise stood at the bus depot's lost and found counter, hardly daring to hope. When the clerk handed her the familiar silver device with an attached note, her hands shook. Someone had listened to Dad's playlists. Her first instinct was embarrassment. Those songs were her private conversations with her father. But as she read the note, particularly Your Father's Gift found its way to someone who needed to hear it, tears pricked her eyes. On the bus ride home, she scrolled to track 97, Heart Pounding. The first notes were unfamiliar, a gentle guitar melody that somehow felt like coming home. Then the voice began. In the static between stations, where our parents' voices fade, there's a frequency of healing in the songs that they once played. By the second verse, she was crying openly. This stranger had understood something even her brother couldn't grasp, that her father lived on in these playlists. That music was their continuing conversation. She played it 7 times, memorizing every word before calling Connor. "Someone found Dad's player," she said. They added a song." "What? Who would do that?" Connor's voice was suspicious. "Ellie, be careful. Some people prey on grief." But Elise knew better. Whoever Elle was understood loss at a molecular level. That weekend, she found herself exploring Santa Barbara with new eyes. The Sunset Cafe caught her attention, not just the worn sign or guitar painted on the window, but the sound drifting out. Someone was playing The Night We Met on acoustic guitar, the same version she'd heard at her father's wake. Inside, the decor spoke of decades-old roots, vinyl records on walls, black and white photos of musicians, a corner stage dusty with disuse. The place felt like stepping into her parents' youth. "Lavender latte, please," she told the barista, a tired-looking Asian man about her age. As he prepared her drink, she noticed his hands, calloused fingertips of a guitarist. When he set down her cup, their eyes met, and she knew. "It's you," they said simultaneously. "You found my father's—" she began. "You're the one with the playlists," he started. The recognition was electric. Other customers faded away as they stood frozen in mutual understanding. "I'm Elise," she managed. "Liam," he replied. Can you stay? I have a break in 10 minutes. Those 10 minutes felt like hours. When Liam finally joined her at a corner table, the same booth where he'd found the MP3 player, words tumbled out like water through a broken dam. He told her about his mother, Maylin, who'd believed music could heal anything. How she'd taught him guitar using songs from across cultures and decades. How cancer had stolen her voice, but not her spirit. How he'd played for her until the end. She used to say music was the only inheritance that mattered, he said. "But after she died, I couldn't play anymore. Your playlists, they reminded me why she believed that." Elise shared her own story. Her sensitive mother who'd struggled with depression. Her steady father who'd used music as medicine for the whole family. How after Mum's breakdown and Dad's death, she'd inherited both their sensitivity and their coping mechanism. "Dad loaded that MP3 player himself," she said. "Mixed his generation's music with mine. Said it was proof that some things transcend time." They discovered parallel griefs. Both had lost the parent who understood them most. Both used music to navigate loss. Both felt guilty about surviving when their parents hadn't. "Play something," Elise said suddenly. "Play what your mother loved." Liam retrieved his guitar from the back room. As his fingers found familiar chords, the cafe's atmosphere shifted. He played Moon River, his mother's favorite American song, then transitioned into a Taiwanese folk song she'd sung while cooking. Dorothy Chen, an elderly regular, looked up from her newspaper. "Maylin used to sing that," she said softly. "Haven't heard it since she passed." Suddenly, Liam wasn't playing just for Elise. Other customers began sharing memories. How Maylin had created special playlists for their life events. How she'd match music to their moods. How the cafe had been their refuge through divorces, deaths, diagnoses. "She was our neighborhood therapist," said Mr. Jameson, a retired teacher. "But her prescriptions were songs, not pills." As stories poured out, Elise understood something profound. The Sunset Cafe wasn't just a business. It was a multi-generational healing space where Maylin had practiced music therapy before it had a name. "Your mother's legacy," Elise whispered to Liam. "It's still alive here." But reality intruded when Liam explained about Mrs. Harper's situation. 20 days left, he said quietly. "I understand why she needs to sell, but losing this place, it's like losing Mom all over again." Elise looked around the warm, worn space where so many had found comfort. Something fierce rose in her chest, the same feeling she'd had while creating her father's memorial slideshow. Sometimes you had to fight for what mattered, even when you barely had strength to stand. "What would your mother do?" she asked. Liam's smile was sad. She'd find a way to help Mrs. Harper while saving the cafe. She always said there's harmony in every conflict. You just have to find the right key. Elise pulled out her laptop. "Then let's find that key. I'm an editor. I know how to shape stories that move people. You have the music. This place has the history. We just need to help people see what they'd lose." As she interviewed the elderly regulars that afternoon, Elise discovered treasure, stories of first dates in the 70s, poetry readings in the 80s, open mics in the 90s, grief support groups in the 2000s. The Sunset Cafe was a living timeline of the community's heart. Meanwhile, Liam began composing again, his guitar finding melodies in the customers' memories. For the first time in 5 years, music flowed through him like water through a reopened dam. Dorothy Chen watched them work with knowing eyes. "You remind me of Maylene and her husband," she told Liam. "They were different as night and day, but music brought them together. She always said the right song at the right moment could change everything." As the afternoon sun painted the cafe golden, Elise realized she hadn't thought about her anxiety medication once. The familiar tightness in her chest had been replaced by something else, purpose. "We're going to save this place," she declared. Liam looked up from his guitar, hope flickering in his eyes. "How?" "The same way our parents saved us," she said. "With music, memory, and the understanding that some things are worth preserving across generations." Over the next week, Elise and Liam met every evening after the cafe closed. Their collaboration felt predestined, her words weaving through his melodies, his music giving voice to her written stories. They were creating more than a campaign. They were composing a symphony of community memory, but not everyone harmonized with their plan. Connor arrived one evening, his surf shop polo still damp with ocean spray. He'd driven straight from work after hearing about his sister's latest project from concerned mutual friends. "Ellie, we need to talk." He used her childhood nickname like a warning bell. "I heard you're spending every night here, missing work deadlines, getting involved with..." He glanced at Liam. "Strangers." The old Elise would have crumbled under his protective disapproval, but she felt Liam's steady presence beside her, remembered her father's words. "Your sensitivity is a strength, sweetheart, not a weakness." "He's not a stranger," she said firmly, "and I haven't missed a single deadline." Connor's face darkened. "You know what happens when you get too invested. Too fast. Remember after Mom's episode? After Dad died, I can't watch you spiral." "Again? That's not what this is," Elise protested, but Connor was already turning to Liam. "And you? What's your angle?" "Business failing, so you latch onto my sister's vulnerability." "I've seen grief exploited before." Liam's voice remained calm, but his knuckles whitened around his guitar neck. "With respect, you don't know me, or what this place means to people like your sister, people like my sister." Connor stepped closer. "You mean people who've attempted suicide? People who spent 3 months in psychiatric care? People whose anxiety attacks land them in the ER?" The cafe fell silent. Elise felt exposed, her darkest moments laid bare before virtual strangers. But then Dorothy Chen spoke from her corner table. "Young man," she said to Connor, her 80-year-old voice carrying steel, "I've been coming here for 30 years. I've seen Maylin talk people off ledges, literally. This place saves lives. Your sister is trying to preserve that legacy, not spiral into it." Other regulars nodded. Mr. Jameson stood up, his professorial bearing intact despite retirement. "After my wife died, this was the only place I could find peace. Maylin knew exactly what music to play. Her son has that same gift." Connor looked around, suddenly seeing the cafe's patrons. Elderly people nursing single cups of coffee for hours, middle-aged divorcees writing in journals, young people with therapy dogs, all finding sanctuary. His voice broke slightly. "I can't lose her too, not like we lost Mom." Elise reached for her brother's hand. "You won't, but you have to trust me. This isn't mania or escapism, this is healing." That evening, they presented their plan to Mrs. Harper. She'd arrived looking older than her 70 years, shoulders bent with the weight of impossible choices. "A concert won't change anything," she said sadly. "Charles's treatment costs $200,000. The developer is offering twice what the building's worth. What if we could raise enough to help with the treatment?" Elise suggested. "Not all of it, but enough that you could accept a lower offer. Keep the building but help your husband." Mrs. Harper's eyes welled. "You don't understand. Charles and I met here in 1973. He played saxophone on that very stage. May Lin was our witness when we renewed our vows." but I can't choose memories over his life. Liam quietly began playing The Way You Look Tonight, the Harpers' wedding song. Mrs. Harper froze, tears flowing freely. He hasn't been able to play in 2 years, she whispered. The Parkinsons took that too. Music therapy can help. Parkinson's patients, Elise said gently. There are studies showing rhythm can bypass damaged neural pathways. Maybe saving the cafe isn't just about preserving the past. It's about creating a future where Charles can play again. Mrs. Harper looked between them, hope warring with reality. 1 week, she finally said. If you can show me another. Way, I'll listen, but I won't give false hope to Charles. As she left, Connor lingered behind. I still think you're moving too fast, he told Elise. But I heard what those people said. Maybe I've been protecting you from the wrong things. Dad always said you got Mom's anxiety about losing people, Elise replied. And I got her need to save them. Maybe we both need to find balance. Connor nodded slowly. That concert, if you need help with setup, the surf shop has sound equipment. Dad bought it for beach events we never held. It was as close to an apology as Connor could manage. As he left, Liam began playing a new melody, hopeful but tinged with urgency. 1 week, he said. Think we can compose a miracle? Elise opened her laptop, her father's playlist humming through her earbuds. Our parents did it every day, used music to heal what seemed broken beyond repair. Time to see if we inherited more than just their pain. That night, they worked until dawn, crafting not just a concert but a movement. Social media campaigns featuring elderly customers sharing their stories, local musicians volunteering sets, healthcare professionals offering testimonials about music therapy. Dorothy Chen became their unofficial grandmother ambassador, her natural authority drawing other seniors to share their memories. Maylin always said the cafe was a bridge, she told them. Between cultures, generations, broken hearts, and healing souls, don't let them tear down our bridge. As the week progressed, something magical happened. The story went viral, not as clickbait but as genuine human interest. The cafe that heals became a rallying cry for anyone who'd ever found solace in a third place, comfort in a song, hope in a stranger's kindness. But time was running out. 5 days. 4. 3. Each sunset brought them closer to goodbye. The night of the concert arrived with Santa Barbara's typical coastal fog, wrapping the Sunset Cafe in ethereal mist. By 6 o'clock, the line stretched around the block, young hipsters, elderly regulars, middle-aged professionals, all united by the story of a community space worth saving. Inside, Liam made final sound checks, while Elise coordinated volunteers. The walls displayed photographs spanning 5 decades. Maylin's grand opening in 1993, Charles Harper's Friday night jazz sessions, poetry slams, grief support circles, first dates, wedding proposals, celebration of life gatherings. Nervous? Connor asked, appearing with sound equipment from his shop. Elise nodded. Mrs. Harper needs $50,000 minimum to make the numbers work. That's impossible. Since when has impossible stopped our family? Connor replied, squeezing her shoulder. Dad used to say miracles are just stubborn hope in action. The doors opened at 7. Within minutes, every seat was filled, people standing along walls, spilling onto the sidewalk. Someone had set up speakers outside for the overflow crowd. Dorothy. Chen took the small stage first, her voice carrying decades of authority. Maylin Chen opened this cafe with a simple belief. Music heals. For 30 years, she proved it daily. Tonight, we return that gift. The first performer was unexpected. Charles Harper, helped on stage by his wife. Despite Parkinson's tremors, he lifted his saxophone with determination. Haven't played in 2 years, he said simply. But this place, it demands music. His rendition of What a Wonderful World was shaky, notes sometimes wavering, but the emotion was pure. When he finished, the applause was thunderous. Mrs. Harper wept openly. Local musicians followed, folk singers, jazz trios, classical guitarists. Between sets, customers shared stories. A veteran spoke about finding PTSD support here. A teenage girl credited the cafe's poetry nights with preventing her suicide. An elderly widower described learning to smile again during morning music hours. Then Liam took the stage. 5 years ago, I stopped believing in music's power. My mother's death felt like God had gone silent. But last week, a stranger's playlist reminded me that healing harmonies never really stop. They just wait for us to listen again. He began with his mother's favorite Taiwanese lullaby, then transitioned into American folk songs she'd loved. The audience swayed, some singing along, others crying quietly. This next song, he said, was written for someone who lost their father's voice but found it again in unexpected places. As he played the song he'd added to Elise's MP3 player, she felt her father's presence so strongly she could almost smell his cologne. Around her, others were clearly experiencing similar moments, reaching for tissues, holding hands, remembering their own lost voices. When the last note faded, Elise found herself moving toward the stage. She hadn't planned to speak, but words demanded release. "I have severe anxiety," she began, voice trembling, inherited from a mother who felt too much, managed by a father who loved enough. "When I lost his MP3 player, his last gift, I thought I'd lost my lifeline. But finding it here, hearing Liam's response, I realized something." She looked around the packed room, seeing faces across generations united in understanding. Healing isn't a solo performance. It's a choir. It's strangers becoming family through shared songs. She gestured, encompassing the entire cafe. A place where broken harmonies become beautiful. She pulled out her phone, opening a GoFundMe page. "We've raised $30,000 online, but more importantly, we've proven what this place is worth, not just in dollars, but in lives saved, hearts mended, communities connected." The room held its breath. It wasn't enough. Everyone knew it. Then Connor stepped forward. "The surf shop will donate $10,000. Dad always wanted to support community arts." Mr. Jameson stood. "Retired Teachers Association, $5,000. One by one, pledges came. Small Business Alliance, $8,000. Veterans Group, $3,000. Poetry Society, $2,000. But they were still short. The energy deflated palpably. Suddenly, a commotion at the door. A news crew pushed through, followed by a woman in an expensive suit. "Miranda Chen," she announced. "Maylin's niece. I just flew in from San Francisco." She surveyed the room with sharp eyes that softened as they landed on Liam. "Auntie wrote about this place constantly. Her letters kept me grounded during Silicon Valley madness. I'm prepared to invest $100,000, not as charity, but as a business partner. This model of community healing. It's the future." The room exploded. Strangers hugged, musicians played victory riffs. Mrs. Harper collapsed into her husband's arms, sobbing with relief. But Miranda wasn't finished. "There's one condition. The cafe must establish a formal music therapy program, partner with local hospitals, train facilitators. What Auntie did, intuitively, we'll do intentionally." As celebrations swirled, Liam found Elise in the crowd. Without words, they moved to the small outdoor patio, needing air and quiet. "We did it," she breathed. "Our parents did it," he corrected. "We just listened to their song." Under the star-scattered sky, with music and laughter spilling from inside, Liam pulled out his guitar one more time. The melody he played was new, neither sad nor jubilant, but something deeper. Complete. "What do you call this one?" Elise asked. "Track 98, he smiled. "For our playlist," she laughed. First time in months without weight behind it. "Our playlist, if you'll let me add to it sometimes. Your father's collection could use some updating." Inside, Dorothy Chen started the cafe's old karaoke machine. The opening notes of "Lean on Me" filled the night. Without discussion, the entire gathering began singing, young and old, broken and healing, all voices joining in the universal harmony of human connection. Standing there, listening to a community choose hope over loss, Elise felt her chest expand. The anxiety wasn't gone, might never be completely, but it no longer defined her borders. "You know what I think," she said to Liam. "Our parents didn't just leave us music. They left us a frequency, one that attracts other healing souls." He nodded, fingers still finding chords. "Mum always Said music was like tuning forks. Strike one and others respond even across distances. Through the window they watched Charles Harper attempt saxophone again, supported by fellow musicians. Mrs. Harper danced carefully, protectively, nearby. Connor was teaching elderly customers to use Spotify. Miranda Chen was already sketching. Renovation plans on napkins. It's not the ending, Elise reflected. It's the bridge to the next movement. In music, Liam agreed, the best songs never really end. They echo in other songs, inspire new melodies, become part of the eternal soundtrack. As if to prove his point, someone inside started playing Imagine on the cafe's old piano. Voices rose to join, imperfect but earnest. A choir of wounded healers and healing wounds. Tomorrow would bring challenges, permits, renovations, program development. But tonight was for celebrating the discovery that sometimes losing everything leads you to find what matters most. The fog had lifted, revealing a universe of stars. Somewhere in that vastness, Elise imagined her father and Liam's mother comparing notes, satisfied their children had finally heard the music they'd been playing all along. 6 months later, the Sunset Cafe had transformed into something beyond anyone's imagination. The walls now featured the Playlist Project, hundreds of handwritten cards where people of all ages shared songs that had saved them. Each card told a story. Widowers finding solace, teenagers discovering hope, veterans processing trauma, immigrants bridging cultures. The formal music therapy program had launched with Dorothy Chen as its oldest trainee. "You're never too old to learn healing arts," she declared, leading sessions for seniors with dementia, using familiar songs to unlock trapped memories. Charles Harper's Parkinson's had shown improvement through rhythm therapy. He now played simplified saxophone every Friday, supported by other musicians who adapted their playing to match his tempo. Mrs. Harper had become the program's most vocal advocate, speaking at medical conferences about music's neurological benefits. Connor had surprised everyone by becoming a regular, bringing his surf shop employees for team meetings. "Dad was right," he told Elise. "Some medicines don't come in bottles." Elise herself had reduced her publishing house hours, splitting time between editing and coordinating the cafe's expanding programs. Her anxiety still visited, but no longer ruled. She'd learned to recognize its rhythm, respond with appropriate songs. The original MP3 player sat in a place of honor, a shrine to serendipitous loss. Beside it, a guest book recorded similar stories. Lost instruments that led to found communities, forgotten lyrics that sparked new connections, abandoned dreams that inspired others' pursuits. Miranda Chen's business acumen had stabilized finances. While preserving soul, the cafe now hosted music therapy interns, offered sliding scale services, partnered with local healthcare providers. But it remained, essentially, what Mei Lin had created, a bridge between broken and beautiful. Liam and Elise's relationship had grown like their collaborative songs, organically, honestly, with space for both harmony and necessary dissonance. They'd created dozens of tracks together, each addressing different aspects of healing: grief, anxiety, depression, PTSD, chronic illness, simple loneliness. One quiet Tuesday afternoon, as rain tapped against windows, Elise found Liam teaching guitar to a young foster child, another lost soul finding voice through music. "How you know what Mum would say," Liam said during their evening walk, "that we didn't save the cafe, we just helped it remember its song." Elise smiled, her father's MP3 player in one pocket, Liam's latest composition in the other. "Maybe that's all salvation is, helping each other remember the music we thought we'd lost." Above them, stars emerged between clouds. Below them, the ocean hummed its eternal bass line. And somewhere between heaven and earth, the Sunset Cafe continued its mission. One song, one soul, one shared moment of grace at a time. The last track on Elise's expanded playlist was now number 127, a community choir recording of Amazing Grace, featuring voices aged 8 to 80. Imperfect, honest, absolutely beautiful, just like healing itself. If this story touched your heart, please hit like and subscribe. Your support helps us share more stories of hope and healing. Drop a comment. What song saved you during tough times? Share this with someone who needs to hear it today. Sometimes, a single story can change everything. New healing stories every week. Hit the bell to never miss one. Thank you for being here.